Okay, so I'd like to welcome to the show Professor Elemental, aka Paul Alborough.
Hello.
Yes, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good actually. I'm hungover. I'm lying on my settee, and I'm sort of going to treat this as a bit of a kind of like a therapy session.
That's fine.
I'm very open to. Literally, I'll tell you anything in this.
You
sort of
may
state.
end up worse by the end of it, but
So that's fine as well.
Yeah, okay.
To be honest, I can't be any worse than if I was left on my own. So yeah, I'm ready.
okay, right. First things first, really. Who are you and what do you do?
So my name is Paul Alborough, and my secret identity is Professor Elemental, who is a kind of sort of Victorian-infused hip-hop MC. So I spend a lot of time pretending that I'm a mad professor who travels through time and has an apish butler called Geoffrey. It's been a while, hasn't it? Back when I was an English gent too far to ever mention, rebel without applause starts an indifferent...
So, I guess, what gave you the idea for Professor Elemental? Where did that come from?
Well, there's a lot of different stories I tell people depending on the audience. But really, it was down to mushroom toast. And me and Tom Caruana sat in a tree all night talking in stupid voices.
Was it psychedelic mushroom toast by any chance?
I'm not at liberty to say. I'm not at liberty caps to say. But we watched. We were watching documentaries on Vivian Stanchel.
How many times have you used that joke?
No, I've never used it. That was the number one and probably last time.
I'm glad I captured it. Right. Anyway, so right.
Yeah, so out of our tree and watching, then we watched some documentaries on Vivian Stanchel, and who was the lead singer of the Bonzo Dog Doodah band, for anybody who doesn't know, and this kind of great eccentric of the 60s. And he was very inspirational. And then Tom was making Tom Caruana, who makes the most ridiculous and whimsical beats. He wanted to do a kind of Victorian one, and all the stars were aligned. But that's one of those things that, once you start it and you just do it as a little weird one-off. And then 10 years later, it's your entire life. And the way you pay your mortgage is terrifying. I came in the door, been on a tour, lost in time, not been...
So you've travelled the globe with Professor Elemental, and you've been to a lot of weird and wonderful places, I believe. What do you reckon is the strangest situation you've ever found yourself in? I was looking forward to this question.
Oh, Jesus. There's been a lot. I mean, I think probably it was last year at a psychedelic church where I was doing the wedding for these two women. And it's called the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, if anybody wants to look it up. It's a very beautiful place. There's some incredible sort of artwork all over the place. And then we had a very big and very strange psychedelic party. And I had an experience I barely made it back from safely. Got on the plane the next day with a slightly skewed perspective on the world, and I think there was probably it was just out of all of the times it was the most out of my depth, and just like, how did I end up here? But the beauty of being the professor is I kind of like, one week I'm doing a Star Wars fetish party in a dungeon somewhere, and then the next week I'm getting to do a wedding for some bankers in Sweden or something. Just really, it's like there's a great big wheel that spins, and I just find myself going, oh, here I am in Basingstoke on a Tuesday. That's weird. So yeah, it's a constant parade of oddness.
So which you think is, or which do you prefer, or what are the differences between a hip hop crowd and a steampunk crowd?
They're very different actually. The steampunk crowd I particularly like the steampunk crowd because you don't have to do any setup. They know that you're there in a funny hat. They're ready to accept that you are a time-travelling nutcase. And they're also all nerds. Like, most hip-hop dudes are nerds as well, but steampunks are much more proud of it. They kind of wear it on their sleeve. So you can make weird jokes about comics and being a nerd or being bullied or whatever else, and do bits of stand-up about that, which are a lot easier and a lot more open. Whereas I remember feeling really confident. I'm doing loads of stand-up. This is going great. And I did a big hip-hop gig at the Concord a couple of years ago and tried a bit of it out, and it was a disaster. Because they're not, you're looking for slightly different stuff at a hip hop gig, particularly a big, rowdy, raucous hip hop gig. You want to be kind of nodding your head and marching about and stomping around. So yeah, it is quite different, and I feel quite grateful that I found, much as I love hip hop, that I found this little nerdy subculture. I found my tribe basically, which is lovely.
Nice. Art and music are quite important for me in modern day society. I think it's So it's an outlet, and I think that in order to look at our own existence, it's good to step out of it. And I think that art, music, and sci-fi and all those kind of things maybe sort of teach us something about modern society by letting us step out of it. How do you feel about your art and in that sense? Do you think that it provides solace for people?
I hope so. I provided a little solace in all of the madness. No, I've had some really nice emails from people who've said exactly that, and a lot of my songs have a kind of thematically about, you know, celebrating your weirdness and don't let the bastards grind you down and all that kind of stuff. So so there's a little bit of that, and it also, you know, it also feeds my insatiable ego in, you know, trying to get as much love from strangers as humanly possible. But I think it's interesting. It's interesting times at the moment, because you're right about art having sort of fulfilling all of that. But at the moment, it's less and less value is being placed on it by society.
Financial value, yeah.
Yeah, or it's only being seen as worth anything if it's got some kind of financial value, which is an absolute tragedy.
Well, I think there's a juxtaposition between that, which is very, very obvious, and also the fact that, like I saw a post today about how music therapy is now being accepted as a really, really important form of treatment, and so there is the other side of it, and I've always thought that for me, writing and music are my therapy, really, and that's why I'm most grateful I have them. I mean, it's great getting up on stage and sharing it with people and releasing albums and stuff, but at the same time, like, I would be lost without that outlet for myself personally.
Definitely. It works on both levels, and if you know, you can use it for so many different purposes. There's a lovely speech I saw with Alan Moore, the comics writer, and he was talking about people always asking him how you become a writer, you know, how you get to become a writer, and he was saying it's not important getting published or anything. None of the career stuff is important. The only criteria for becoming a writer is to write stuff. That is literally all it is. Whether it's good, bad, indifferent, whether you want to show it to the world, make your living out of it, or just write for your own self and for keeping it, the important stuff is just the actual physical act of doing it. And I like that. I think that's nice. And most of the people I know who've got a thing like yourself, or any of the other MCs or artists I know, we all do it regardless of whether we're getting paid for it. If no one ever wants to hear another Professor song, I'll probably still make them just for my own amusement.
I can see them, a whole army, 1,000 apes all having a party. There's Jeffrey there in the throng. Jeffrey, it's me, boy, it's me!
So that was quite a serious question, so I'm going to ask you a very silly one now. You're known for animal crossbreeding.
That's true.
What is the one combo you would create if you had any animals of your choosing? Anything in the world, including maybe from off this world as well. You know.
I think I would definitely, because when I recorded a song called Animal Magic years ago about cutting the heads off animals and sticking them on other animals, I mispronounced one of the animals. I called it a marmoquin, and for the last 10 years. People, at least once a week, someone says, by the way, what's a marmoquin? And I wish I'd pronounced it properly. It's supposed to be a marmoguin. And I like the idea of a marmoset's head on a penguin's body is the cutest little... Can you imagine having them running around? Imagine having like 5 of them running around, like Mr. Popper's penguins, but little marmoguins, all jumping in the bath with you and, so I don't know, cuddling up at night.
Only exists in your head, technically.
Yeah. You
should make ugly toys.
That is a good idea, isn't it? Always on the lookout for new merchandising opportunities. Oh, Marmoguin cuddly toys. That's a lovely idea. Yeah. Or even if I couldn't do that, I might give the Professor a pet dodo. I've always liked the idea. I've had that knocking around for ages. The idea we'd have a pet dodo. I just don't know what I'd do with it.
Possibly get some DNA from the Booth Museum and.
Oh, that's a good idea.
They've definitely got one there.
Booth Museum's great, actually, isn't it? I went to a backstage, not backstage, whatever it's called. I went behind the scenes at the Booth Museum, and they've just got drawers and drawers of moths and beetles and things. It's perfect, Professor
endless,
Fodder.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
Spent a lot of time collecting.
And they're not even the most lethal force. There's a team of demon Frisians, eyes gleaming like they could eat a horse.
Man, it's every animal imaginable. A mackerel compatible with the mechanical bull. A family of flammable wool.
I had to ask this one. Do you actually drink tea as often as you say you do? Or are you now sick of it?
I just had a cup, and I have to say, you know, when you're hungover and you drink it a bit too quickly and it sits in your tummy like a brick.
Yeah, and you feel that little burn.
Yeah, I don't feel great. So okay. Usually yes, but right now I'd say it's one of the few times that tea has made me sick.
Damn.
Damn tea.
I'm going to take that as a soundbite, you know that. Wear it on a t-shirt.
If you ever do a diss tune of me, you'll be able to cut this up.
Yes, definitely. That's what this is all planned. Just to be able to do that.
What an elaborate and unnecessary diss.
Next villain in your comic book series. So who are your favourite artists at the moment, local and abroad? Who would you like to shout out?
You can't beat a bit of Gramsci and John Clark and a bit of Teej. They are my boys, and they are just... Gramsci's doing this thing at the moment on Juice, isn't he, every week?
I don't know, is he?
Yeah, Juice FM on the local radio station. He does a little sort of raps the headlines, and I love it when sort of friends of mine end up doing something that's sort of slightly unlikely but really fits their skill set. You know, it's like, oh, that's a cool thing to do. Or like John doing all of his rap workshops. I just think that's when people are doing sort of what they're supposed to be doing, it's great. So I'm digging all of that stuff whenever I hear it, and they're still a continual inspiration when it comes to freestyling and stuff. Who am I liking live? I'm listening to, in the Americas, a rapper called Dylan and another guy called Willie Evans Jr., who's amazing. I'm going to get him on a song soon, I think. And Syntax and Pete Cannon's last couple of albums are pretty much flawless hip-hop. They're very good. Bit of Homeboy Sandman. And Patton Lock, he's good as well. That's the thing, I've always been of the opinion, I know it's kind of, you're supposed to moan about the state of hip-hop. Always, that's part of being a b-boy. Oh, it's not as good as it used to be. Whatever year it was better, but actually, hip hop's great. And with a brief dip in around about the year 2000 when it was a bit shit, it's always great. And there's loads of good stuff out at the moment. It's quite an exciting time, I think.
2015 was a huge year for UK hip hop and hip hop around the world. But I listen to more and more UK hip hop because I'm simply overwhelmed by how much good stuff there is.
Yeah, well, we've got lovely,
it's
one of the upsides to the sort of technological world we live in. We've got access to all of it all the time. So, we can dig out artists that would have been totally local beforehand.
Back into time. Looking back like a time machine.
Let's travel at magnificent speeds around the universe.
Go back. Way back.
You're a proud comic book enthusiast.
Oh,
what
yes.
are your favourite comic books and why?
Ooh, God, with a little
It's
brain
really
full of
because
fluff.
I want some to check out.
Yeah,
To be quite
definitely. Favourite comic books? I'm like of all time, or just stuff that I'm reading at the moment?
Either, whatever comes to mind.
Oh,
that you
man.
think people should check out.
Well, my favourites, I suppose, are the kind of ones that loads of people would have read. I really like The Killing Joke and Why the Last Man and Sandman. But everyone, if you've even glanced at a comic, you've probably read those. So what am I reading at the moment? Oh, I just read something called Fuck Fairyland. That was really good.
Nice.
Yeah, really good. It's about a cutesy little girl who gets stuck in fairyland for like 35 years and becomes really bitter. And even though she looks like a cute little girl, she's just really angry all the time and trying to escape and just like messing up all of the various fairyland creatures, which was awesome. So that's good. And Walking Dead still ticks along as a little favourite, and it comes and goes in terms of quality, but it's still a delight to read. And weirdly, I never thought I'd say this, but Ant-Man is awesome because it's written by a guy called Nick Spencer, who's really good. So they probably sit at the top at the moment. But I just want more silly comics, man. I'm just always on the lookout for a bit of silliness. You get little mini-series of like Rocket Raccoon or Bizarro or just some kind of Mickey-taking ridiculous superhero. I'm a bit like that with hip-hop as well. I'm always on the lookout for silliness, and there's not that much of it about.
Very good. That's a good tip for people. Go and look for the strange stuff. I agree.
Find the weirdness.
I wholly agree. So I suppose last question really, but what are you working on and where is Professor L going next?
Where is he going next?
Yeah.
I've always got like sort of 3 albums on the go and just endless weird bits of merchandising and books and stuff. So I won't list them all because I'll just sound like a spoiled child listing his Christmas list or something. So, but the next thing is going to be the Menagerie album with Dr. Syntax and Tom Caruana and Nick Maxwell, and that's A Thing of Beauty. Again, we just made something that was just fun to make, which is really, really nice. And then the Professor, I think I've got 2 on the go at the moment. I think it might be a bit of a superhero theme because it makes sense. I think I'm going to do an EP called Be Your Own Hero. But they will, to be honest, it's fitting it in between the shows because if anyone fancies seeing me live, I'm playing all the time, everywhere. Forever. So yeah, come and see us at a show. I'll be writing songs in between.
Okay, cool. That's fine. Well, thank you very much for coming on the Anti-Pop Radio Show Outdam Spoken podcast takeover. That's a hell of a mouthful.
That is a bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
And we're going to play one of your tracks now. We're going to play Home Sweet Home featuring Hattie Snooks and Sabira Jade.
Hooray! Thanks ever so much for having us.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, man.